Hi everyone, and welcome to our, oh gosh, I don't even know the number, sixth edition of the Design Feedback live streams. My name is Elsa, and I'm a visual designer from Tanzania. I'm here to provide feedback on the design submitted once again.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Lora and I'm a digital designer and marketer based in Copenhagen, and I'm also Adobe XD ambassador and mentor. And I'm really happy to be here in this session and excited to review the submissions.
Yeah, same. Okay. So we are gonna jump right into it and take a look at some of the sessions that we have. So our first submission is a portfolio. I think it's like a PDF of sorts, and this has been submitted by Sebestian, Palma, a UX UI digital product design portfolio. So we're gonna take a look at that. As always, we like to start out with kind of skimming through the entire document, just kind of getting a brief look at how the layout is and how it's structured, and then we'll go into more detail and providing feedback with specific sections. So Sebestian has a bio, listed out their skills, and kind of their contributions. Then, of course, they have a couple of case studies that they've highlighted, and they go immediately into diving into one of these case studies as well. And then it's a breakdown of their process. So we have the first case study, and then the second one, and I believe the third one is last. And so that's the entire portfolio deck. So just to start things off, I think this is a great portfolio deck. You know, typically you see a lot of portfolio sites, but this is a really great example of how you can present your case studies and present your work in a presentation format or a PDF format as well, just as effectively. So, you know, you have what your design expertise is, so UX, UI, digital product design, a couple of images of some of your sample work, and a bio as well as your skills. One thing that I would highlight here is it would be nice to see an image of you. You know, sometimes having that level of familiarity can go a long way, because you can think recruiters and hiring managers look at a lot of portfolios. Sometimes it's as simple as feeling like you know a bit more about the candidate on a personal level. So it's not just stats and skills, but like who are they as a person, even outside of their work, and as an image, so a headshot can go a long way towards communicating that. So that's some kind of my initial feedback so far.
Yeah, I can agree with Elsa. The portfolio looks nice. Like, it seems that they've done really a lot of work on their projects. One thing also that I like to advise them is maybe to consider putting their portfolio in another platform. Because, for example, when I try to open their portfolio from the Dropbox link, I tried in two different devices, and it pops up a window from Dropbox that they want me to sign up or something, and I don't want to sign up. So I think when you submit your portfolio to hiring managers, you wouldn't like them to waste time, you know, with these pop-up windows. And yeah, I think it would be better to put it somewhere where everybody can open it freely. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. I know because I have an account already, so I didn't have that issue, but it's a very good point. You know, always consider who might open your portfolio, what they might be using as a device, and how can you make it easier for them. So that's a really good point. So you
Yeah.
have, okay, your contributions, which I think is kind of like a breakdown of how you work or the type of work that you do. And then we have our case studies. So just to dive into the case study, so the first one is design of user and conversion friendly, responsive educational website experience. That's a very long title, but it communicates the project effectively. So you provide some context, the problem, so a brief summary, kind of like an executive summary of what you did in this project, which I think is a really good idea. It gives whoever is looking at your portfolio a brief snapshot of what you accomplished through this case study. And then you also have imagery as well to support, showing what the final prototype looks like before you actually go into more detail. So I think that's a good way to start out your case study.
Yeah, definitely. And actually the slide where they presented this first project, like the header image and this summary, I think the layout is really well done there. There is not too much text and everything is spread out in a very balanced way, so it's not overwhelming to look at the slide. But for example, the slides on top of that, the previous slides, like where they have the bio and then there's two more slides. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's too many things on one page, and I don't know where to look at. So I would advise them to maybe take the approach of the visual layout that they've done on this slide where they start the project, design of user and conversation friendly responsive educational website. Oh my god, that's really a long name, but yeah, that slide, I think they can take the visual approach from here, how they've done the layout, and apply that in the other slides. Mm-hmm. So there is the elements are distributed with more like white space and to be more balanced, not to have too many elements and too much text in one slide.
Mm-hmm. Definitely agreed. It helps to always make sure that your visual elements are supporting your text and also helping you to limit how much text you have to use in your portfolio. Because a lot of people will just skim this. Unfortunately, they're not going to read every single detail. So it's important to also think about that as well. And then, so going through the rest of the study, you've listed out your key responsibilities, and you have visual support for each of those points, which is good. And then you dive into going over your research, so what you did, segmenting users, etc., etc. I think one thing that I will say is that, so you have your executive summary and a bit of context. It might help to have the first slide before you even dive into the research be you establishing the problem in more detail. So here you say TED IELTS is an education company that helps students learn English, etc., etc. And the problem is 44% of customers can't make a seamless purchase. So one thing that I have heard in a lot of portfolio reviews is that it's important to structure your case study like a story. You have to be developing some kind of narrative. So when you dive into what you did for your research and what you discovered and, a lot of those finer details and statistics, those are great as support, but people also want to be able to read this in a way where they're understanding the story behind the case study. Because when you present it that way, it's a lot easier for someone to follow through and understand your case study. So if I'm like skimming through it now, it's a lot of image, it's a lot of, different points, etc. But I would need to take more time to really understand the problem and what it is you're trying to achieve, if that makes sense. So like trying to create a narrative is always a better approach with case studies.
Yeah, that's actually a really good advice. I can agree that when you try to present the case study as a story, it's much more intuitive and the flow is more natural for the viewer when they scroll through your case study. And also you can combine this storytelling with visual hierarchy in your slides. Mm-hmm. So use hierarchy to kind of distribute all elements in a way that you will drive the viewer's eye to where it's supposed to be. So a little bit of storytelling and a little bit of hierarchy. Otherwise, I can see that they've done like a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work, really. They just need to improve a little bit the presentation of it. But it looks great. Like they've uploaded like sketches and the different stages of the wireframing. I can see they've done really nice work here.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is an actual project they did for a client, so this education company. So you can really tell they put in effort to understand the problem and figure out what the best business solution is. And even at the end, they do have a slide on key outcomes and deliverables, which is great, because then you can say, because of my design and because of my research, I helped the company achieve this, or I helped the client achieve this. So that's really cool that you can say that and that you show that here as well. So that's also a great point.
Yeah, true. And also when I scroll further, like to the information architecture and data analysis and map user journeys and so on, they still have a lot on the slides, but I don't know how is it on your end, Elsa, but for me, it looks blurry. I don't know if it's an issue on my end, like some technical issue I'm facing, but it's like a lot of the screenshots are very blurry.
Yes, they are actually. That's a good point. So I don't know what size. Yeah, no, go on. But yeah, I agree. When you zoom in, it is blurry.
Yeah, they are blurry. And for example, if I decide to dive in more into detail in this case study and I'm curious and I want to see this data, I cannot see it. I cannot see anything apart from the title and the opening sentence. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe this is kind of data that shouldn't be visible to the public, so maybe they've blurred it out intentionally. I don't know. But if that is the case, they should somehow write it somewhere so we know that it's blurred out intentionally. Or maybe just if that is the case, maybe a better thing to do would be to kind of present it, like substitute the data with kind of imaginary one if that's the case, and just make sure that all screenshots and text are clearly visible for people.
Yeah, agreed. I think also what a lot of people do is that for their portfolio, they'll present a briefer version of their case study, maybe with limited details, and then depending on what they're applying for, in the follow-up interview, they can actually share the full case study. That's what I've heard that a lot of people do, because you don't want just anyone having access to all these details. Maybe that's why you blurred them out. But if you specifically want to talk about what you did with like a hiring manager, when you get to the interview stage, you can still do that with a more detailed project as well.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. Or they can just, as you said, they can create like a shorter version with the highlights and then maybe just add a link to the more detailed version.
Yeah.
That would be cool too.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, but thank you so much, Sebastian, for your submission. This was a great portfolio. Clearly, you're doing great work. And it looks awesome. So I'm very excited to see how it develops over time.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian, and good luck on your journey. I hope that our feedback and advice will be helpful to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of you or either one of us.
Awesome. Okay, so our next project submission is from John, I believe, John Sadir, and they've submitted a custom drink app UI design. Okay, called SmooMaker. That's actually a very cute name. SmooMaker.
Yeah, true.
Okay. This is made in Figma actually. An app that lets you order and customize a drink with given ingredients the way you want it to be. Okay, so this looks like a fun little personal project that you did, or maybe it was for a challenge or something. So we're gonna quickly go through it and then provide some detailed feedback. Okay. So we have a home screen, some fruit options, okay, ordering a drink, and then a collage of some of your different screens. Okay, so short and sweet. Cool. So some of my initial thoughts, I really like how you presented this. I think it's pretty effective and clean. It is just kind of like a small little personal project that you were doing, so not a lot of detail, but I like that we can see the designs clearly. I think that the designs themselves look great. I like the style that you went with. Very clean, modern. I think a lot of app designs that I see these days are kind of like this, if not similar. So even how you show the fruits with the color in the background, so it's like hovering in the air with no, that kind of style is very popular. So it looks cool, and I think that it works pretty effectively. I think the only thing I'll say so far, which isn't so much about the designs, but because we don't really know what this is for, sometimes it helps to even say, potentially why you designed this. So if it's for a challenge, you can say I did this as part of a daily creative challenge, or just a daily UI challenge, or maybe this is just a personal project that you wanted to, create. So sometimes just having a little note like that can really help too.
Yeah, all points are really good. I really like the visual design of this project, but I can agree here with Elsa about including some kind of intro. Imagine that people that are going to see this project, they don't know what is it about. They don't know anything. So just write a short intro. And I'm looking actually right now at the header image, which is really well done, really eye-catching, really looks really beautiful. But on the first screen, where I guess this is like an onboarding, or I'm not sure, but the first screen, the green one, there seems to be like a lighter green button on the top of the screen, but there is no text on it. And I don't know, for me, when I look at it, it's like there's text missing from that part. I don't know what's the idea of this, or is it just supposed to be like an arrow? But yeah, maybe they can revise that. Yeah, because it seems like an unfinished call of action.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then everything else looks nice. Like the layout looks really great. Colors look great. The only thing that I would note here on the second screen is the small text under create a custom drink. I think this text can use maybe 2 points increase. I don't know what is the size of the text, but I think it could be increased a little bit. And last thing about this header image is that I would double check the color contrast of the third screen between this dark orange background and dark green. I'm not sure that's gonna pass the color contrast checker. And as this is like a call to action button, add a drink on the bottom, I think it's important to make sure that there's good color contrast there, and all people are gonna be able to see it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the interesting thing is about the color, which I agree with you as well. I think it's cool that you went for like a kind of muddier version of some of these colors. So instead of bright orange, it's like a bit muddier. I get that it's a style that you're going with. All your colors kind of have that tone. But like Lora said, you want to be careful about contrast. And the interesting thing is, I think that the colors you have in these previews So like here where it says popular drinks for wild berry mix, if you compare that color with the actual color used for wild berry mix, I think this color would actually have better contrast than the one you ended up using. So maybe it's just a matter of even taking some of the colors you've used in these previews. And I don't know if this is because the actual mock-up changed the lighting, that's why the colors look different, but these colors would probably work better than the ones that you ended up using. Because your button is dark green, a lot of the colors, it wouldn't have enough contrast. And the other thing I also wanted to mention, because you brought up contrast, Laura, and also typography, font size, is that this paragraph text, I think, is slightly translucent, if I'm correct. So because it is not 100% opacity and it's smaller, so the font size is really small, you also kind of want to be a bit careful about that. I would either just make it fully opaque, so 100% opacity, or increase the size a bit, because that's just something that you want to keep in mind. Right now we're viewing this on a laptop screen, so it's large, but if I'm viewing it on a mobile screen, you want to make sure that your font size is legible, whether I'm viewing it from a distance or I'm viewing it close to my face, whatever it is, you want to keep that in mind too as well.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's good to make it opaque and also increase the size. And I would advise to not use low opacity for text unless it's something very unimportant. And in that case, I think it's better not to even put it. But in this case, it's kind of important for the user. It's kind of the only text on the screen, so yeah. It would be good to make it like full opacity and maybe just full white. It's gonna make good contrast and it's gonna be legible.
Yeah, 100%. But otherwise, love the design. It's very cute. I would love to see like a prototype, so with like an animations and everything of this app, because I do think it looks cool and the colors are really cute too. So overall, I think this is great work, and it's a cute little design.
Yeah, I agree. I love the presentation. Like they have skills for presentation, really. It looks amazing. And visually, the design looks really good. I mean, there are small remarks that we made, but these are like small things that can be improved. But overall, great work, really. Visually, it looks really nice.
Thank you so much, John. And so next we have another submission by Nivedita, Kumari, and this is a Figma prototype. We don't have like an intro so much of what the actual project or concept is, but we can see that it is an app design for Kombucha, which I think is some beverage. So we'll go through it and okay, yeah, I was gonna say it seems to be a prototype, so there are interactions in this as well. So maybe we can just start off with the first page, because this is, I think there are like around 20 screens. So
oh wow, yeah.
yeah, quite a few screens to get through. But we'll start out with like the home screen and the general style, and then we can go through a couple more screens and give some more feedback as well.
Yeah.
First impressions, I like that you kind of set this up as a proper prototype. So you have your status bar up here. I think that's cool and something that is important to do sometimes with app designs, just so you can get a sense of how would this look on an actual mobile phone. So I like that you included that. It's very clear that this is an app about kombucha. And we get a bit more information on that. I think the only thing is, for one, because this is a prototype, there might be a separate case study attached to it. So I don't want to say that you should provide an introduction or you should provide an overview, because that might be something that you are working on separately. So in terms of just evaluating the prototype itself, I think the hero section needs a bit more information on what exactly this is, because I'm aware of kombucha the drink, but this is, I think, kombucha and it's something related to crypto. So it's a very different thing, and you can see after the title you have like this video and then a subheading for the video, but it's only talking about, Lee talks about her journey into the world of NFTs and that kind of thing. So it's a bit like the context is a bit lost, especially because kombucha is a drink and that's the first thing people are gonna think of. So it might be worth having a separate paragraph in this introduction. So instead of this tagline, it's something else that maybe provides a bit more details. And the other point I will make is that I think it's also important to consider spacing. You know, for instance, you have your H1 heading, and then you have like the paragraph here, but it's a bit lower than expected compared to your heading. And alignment is a bit weird because you have see how here on the right as opposed to in the center or on the left, because we read from left to right. So some of the alignment I think also could be worked on so it's easier to follow the content on the screen.
Yeah, I can agree with all of the points that you mentioned. It's not super clear when you open it what it is about. Like there are doubts, and at least the first screen should be designed in a way that whoever opens it kind of gets the idea what is this app for, what they can use it for. Maybe to solve this problem, you can add onboarding screens where you explain what is this app about in like 2-3 steps, with like small illustrations, images, which are relevant to the topic of the app, and a few sentences underneath explaining what you can do here, how this app can help you.
Yep, 100%. On onboarding screens actually would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Would help a lot. But cool prototype interaction so far. So we can click through some of these links. As we go through them, a couple of other points that I'm noticing too. I think sizing is also important. I don't think your search icon and account icon need to be quite this large. And I think your logo too doesn't necessarily need to be quite this large. You can space them out a bit more and maybe make them smaller. I think that even when you think of spacing, for instance, this is an input field for adding, for someone to join their mailing list. Like the text isn't centered in the rectangle, and it's quite close to the edge on the left. So maybe creating a bit more padding on the left and centering it would kind of make it appear or look a bit more better. And even in the case of like a sign up button, drop down shadows on sign up on buttons sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. I think this is an instance where you might not even really necessarily need a drop shadow, but it's just worth considering some of these other elements. And it helps sometimes when you do look at other designs that are similar, especially for crypto or NFT concepts. It's super popular now, and get a sense of how other people are designing those screens.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm browsing through the screens. Yeah, I agree with your comment about the search icon and the profile and the menu. It seems a little crowded over there. And maybe some of these elements can go on the bottom of the screen also. Maybe you can leave the logo kind of in the top and then put the rest of the items on the bottom.
Yeah.
That could also be a way to go. Yeah.
But, I mean, really great work. Really great work in prototyping a lot of different screens, clearly, for this. I mean, you even prototyped a screen for like logging in via Gmail. So you clearly put in a lot of effort into understanding the flow and logic of this app, which is great. And really goes to show the level of effort involved. I think the only thing that really you would need to work on is just some of the more UI design elements. And once you work on that, it would really transform the entire app as well.
Yeah, I'm on screen 13, and one thing I would like to note is the text in the input fields for the email and password could be maybe increased a little bit. And maybe actually this is a case where you can use a lower opacity for the text, like input fields. You don't want to use solid color there.
Yeah.
Most of the cases. I mean, of course, it depends on the project, but here you can increase it with a few points and then make it with a little lower opacity, maybe, or just a lighter value of the color.
Yeah.
And also, forgotten password needs to be aligned. Yeah, currently it's not aligned, so I'll check that. Yeah.
100%. But great work. Thank you so much for your submission for the Kombucha NFT crypto app. Really cool concept though. So thanks so much, Nivedita. And now we're gonna move on to our final submission. This is by Serhan. Robinson Technologies brand and website redesign. Okay, so we're gonna go through this and then I think this is like a case study and prevent our feedback for your design. Okay. Robinson Technologies is a video game developer located in Japan. Okay, so this is redesigning the landing page for this company, which is either fictional or it exists. I guess it probably exists. Okay. Okay, and then just going through the different screens you have. Ooh, okay, and that's it. So, some initial feedback. I really like this cover, this cover image. Looks cool. Looks awesome. I don't know. I've never seen a gradient like this. Somehow you've made it work. I didn't think these colors could work well as a gradient, but it looks really good. And you present the company or the client you were working with, either actually working with them or maybe it's a personal project, whichever it is, and then what you did. So brand and website redesign. You have a bit of an about. I would say that you talk a bit about the company, which is great because I didn't know about this company and now I know a bit more about them. But it might also help to kind of divide a paragraph on like why you're redesigning their brand and their website. So if it is a personal passion project, what aspects of their current branding or their current website made you feel like you needed to explore redesigning it? Or if it was actually a client project, what problems the clients come to you with that you can provide more of an explanation of that helps us understand why you are redesigning their brand and their website. So I think that would help a lot in clarifying what problems you are trying to solve. Otherwise, if I was a hiring manager, for example, I'm looking at this and regardless of whether I think this design looks good, I don't know what problems it's solving with the original design they have. So it's harder for me to evaluate it other than just saying that it looks nice or it looks clean. You know, you want to put like a bit more explanation into your process and decision making too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also loved the gradient, really nice colors, and yeah, I haven't seen this combination of colors before, but works well. And I can only second your advice on including some intro about the project and some context. That would be great.
In terms of the actual, I'm like so curious. I want to actually look up the actual Robinson Technology site. I'll look at it after the stream. But I really like your redesign. I think that it really fits the tech style that a lot of companies are going with these days. So it works. I mean, I'm guessing from this hero section, it's like you have a news element and then you have like some kind of introduction. I would just be mindful as well of spelling. So if it's passenger, then it would be double SE. So just also like a minor detail that people might pick up and notice. But I like that it has a lot of white space. It looks very modern and tech-like, and I think it fits the theme and the vibe that you are going for. In terms of like typography and layout and structure and alignment, I think you really did a good job and put a lot of effort into this redesign and this concept.
Yeah, it looks really great. The colors and the typography go really well together. My only note here would be for the text. I can see that in some of the screens there are bigger chunks of text which seem to have longer lines, and I would advise them to make those lines a little shorter because it will be very tiring for the eye of the user to, follow along such a long lines of text. So maybe just cut it out a bit.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. 100%.
Yeah. I like the logo though. I don't know if this is the original logo or they designed that. Maybe that's also something that they can mention in the storytelling part.
Yeah, I like the logo as well. Yeah, because you said you redesigned the brand and the website. So it's, although I guess they do. So if we go up, color palette and typography. But yeah, like you said, Laura, we don't know which aspects are taken from the original site and brand and which ones you redesigned, so we're missing that context.
Yeah, and now actually when you mentioned color palette, it makes me wonder. So there is this color palette in the second image, in the under the about info, but then when I scroll down and I kind of look at the screens, I can see some colors that are not there, so it makes me wonder. For example, if you scroll a little further down on the products page, there are these like yellow, green, blue, really nice colors, but they are not part of the palette, so makes me wonder. Also, like the gradient. I don't know if this is only for the header image of this presentation or are these colors part of the brand? So yeah, I'm not sure. I would maybe advise them to revise the color palette if this is the correct one, or maybe a few colors need to be added there.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I saw those colors on the products page too. So really this could benefit just from a bit more of an overview and an introduction. So fleshing it out into being a more of a detailed case study, and then when it comes to branding, because you would have already shown us screens of the original brand and design, we can now go into your redesign and be like, oh, okay, so you added these colors or you changed this font. We can see the difference more clearly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It would be great to show the before and after in some way. Maybe just for a few screens.
But otherwise, I love it. I've even liked it because I think I would come back to this as like inspiration. It's such a, so many tech sites are like minimalistic. So this really fits that design style well. So you did an amazing job. And thank you so much for submitting, Serhan. The concept's amazing. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks great. I love the typography. I'm gonna write those names down and I'm gonna try out these typefaces. Really nice work.
Me too.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your submission. And yeah, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, that was our last project submission. I mean, all the designs this month, like the previous ones, were great, and we thank everyone so much for submitting and sharing. We love going over your designs, and as always, We'll have another edition of this next month. So if you didn't have an opportunity to submit your design this time around, you can submit for next month and join us then as we review more designs. And if you registered through Luma, feel free to provide your feedback. We would love to know if this feedback stream is helpful, and what you got out of it, or what more you would want from it as well. We definitely would encourage your feedback on that.
Yeah, you said it all. And thank you, Elsa, to you as well. And everyone, just feel free to submit your feedback. It's really important for us to hear out, like, yeah, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see, what you want improved. And yeah, feel free to share.
Yeah. Thank you again, everyone. We'll see you next month. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.